Morning, everybody. Thanks very much, Chris, for passing me on. Yeah, it's kind of like a nice little thing that I get to bring in designers that I admire, that I think are at the top of their fields, and that are just all around nice people. So it's nice to get these people in, have a chat to them, just get their take on a few things that have set on me recently, because I've been freelancing since last March, I think it was, full time. So the whole kind of like the last year has been kind of new to me, and I've been sort of experiencing new things. And these guys have got more experience than me. They've been sort of had different journeys, and it's a nice way to sort of open up the platform and just get different experiences, really. So yeah, everyone, I'm joined by David and Amy. Amy is a super talented designer and creative designer. She's really sort of heading up the Web3 world, looking at digital collectibles, working with brands all over the world, just sort of getting them into this sort of new space. So great to have you on board, Amy. I know we've sort of spoke here and there on Instagram, and it's nice to sort of have you with me.
Chat in person, sort of, finally.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. And David, yeah, if you've not seen David's work on Instagram, then you've been living under a rock, because it's just amazing. It's like super sort of expressive, loads of characters, illustration, and motion. And he too has been freelancing and been able to sort of work with people and brands all over the world. So it's great to see you as well, David.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's great to have these guys on board. We're all freelancers. We all sort of experience different things. And yeah, I guess for me recently, I've had a few days and months where, because I'm sort of sat on my own at home, it's been difficult to sort of get into certain projects, or I found it hard to really sort of, there's not always someone around me. I've got like a dog that sort of causes chaos around me. He's probably going to make an appearance at some point and cause some sort of chaos in the background. So we just ignore that if he destroys the bed. But he's a bit of company. But other than that, it's quite hard. I don't know about you, Amy. Like, you've kind of had sort of a different journey yourself, haven't you? So how have you sort of found it transitioning into being freelance, and what's kind of been your journey in the last couple of months and years, really?
I mean, before COVID, I was building a small agency with a group of people, and we specialised in designing for events. Obviously, that went out the window. So I jumped back into working in-house at a drinks company, and then I moved to an agency last year, and I just felt like I was missing something. Even though I love being around people again, there was still creatively something missing. So I went freelance again. At the same time, NFTs were going, like, they were thriving.
Yeah.
And I was learning 3D, so the two coming together has given me a space to explore that I'm really enjoying. But I did struggle working from home. I was like under the stairs, like with my dog, so I had company.
Yeah.
But it was just not healthy. So I've literally this week moved into some studios in Sheffield, so that's where I am now.
Nice.
It's just nice to even just see people when you go get a coffee,
Yeah, I was going to say, because I came from quite a heavy, it was a really close team for an agency in called Analog in Leeds, and we were like a really close-knit group of mates kind of thing. But when I left, it was during sort of the second wave of COVID, so I never kind of had like a leaving do. I never really said goodbye to anyone, so it was like transitioning from agency to full-time or self-employment. So it was really weird, and I've at times when I was working with the agency, going sort of it's kind of been like, I guess, Christmas time a few years ago, we were on big projects, and I always find it really hard to sort of get feedback on stuff. And I guess that sort of transitions over to when you're freelancing as well, because especially me, when I'm sat on my own at home, like I'm not with anyone, and sometimes I message people on Instagram to kind of get like their feedback on stuff, or just even get their stance on things that hopefully that I can share, because annoyingly most of the time, because of NDAs, you can't always share stuff, and you can't give too much details. So it's hard sometimes just trying to sort of get that feedback. And it's nice, I guess, now you've got that studio space to sort of have people around you, and you have a bit more company, and it's just
have visitors, so I can have
best of both worlds.
Yeah, so like friends that work remotely, they're welcome to come and work here now, just like the odd day. So it just breaks things up a lot more.
Yeah.
It's easy to not have a work-life balance at home either, so you can easily work until 1 a.m, which is just not very healthy. Yeah,
this is exactly it. And I guess, David, for you, like, you live and work at home like myself, right?
Trust me, and I understand you, but like, thank God I have more company now, because I just had the kids, so it helped me become a little bit more, how do you call it, more, I have more company than others, I will say.
Yeah.
But no, it's amazing, but at the same time, sometimes can be tough because you still need to get work going on. And I don't know, your mindset always changes when you're from home. When you have your own space, you know, you can try to go all in and then have spare time after to enjoy family and everything if you want. But when you work from home, there's always like, I find like there's a lot of distraction because before COVID, I used to be like, I went for a creative director job back then.
Nice.
And I started freelancing literally the week before COVID started.
Oh, no way.
No, because you know, as Amy was saying, like even as a creative director, I had a lot of issue, like because I was a creative director, I was supposed to have a team, but then they didn't give me a team. So there's a lot of, I was stressing a lot, so I had too much work in my hand. So the fact of coming as a freelancer was also I wanted to focus more on my craft rather than just doing only corporate work, if it makes sense. And yeah, that's me today, still at home. But in the future, I want to try to move out of the house because I don't know, as Amy was saying, it's great to stay around people because the more I work at home, I feel like I'm becoming a little bit more antisocial. I'm very sociable, but I feel like I'm a bit detached since COVID because staying so much at home is a habit, but it also makes me a little bit like I'm always home. You know, it's crazy. And before I was every day out, so I don't know. It's can be a struggle, but at the same time, it's I don't know. It's work. You have to what you have to do from where you do it. You know, so
yeah, I've recently. Well, I used to work on an iMac, so I used to work in here a lot. Just like this is just a back room bedroom at home.
Okay.
But over time, as projects have become less sort of, I guess, they've needed less sort of processing power and less computer sort of stock. I've moved to like a laptop now, so I sort of move around the house, sometimes in the lounge, in the kitchen, very rarely up in here. But that's become almost more of an issue because then I've not been able to split up my working day with when work's over. Because I'm taking my computer with me around the house and I'm sort of taking work with me wherever I am. So it's been hard to kind of find that split and just give myself like, right, your working day is done now, instead of just jumping on emails, just fix this for a client here and there. I think I need to sort of step back and come back to my computer and then try and balance my own time a bit better because I'm a nightmare for it. Like I'm working way too many hours, basically. It's hard.
I'm same as you, but I think you will come to a limit that will actually push you to say like, you know what, no, let it go today, tomorrow. Because don't get me wrong, I think especially even the way you work, I think you produce quite a lot. So I think that by becoming faster with the process and everything, sometimes you just want to push yourself to the limit because you want everything to get done on time. In advance. But it's also true that sometimes I feel, at least personally, sometimes I feel like we rush everything. We are too precise in a certain way and we don't focus too much on ourselves, if it makes sense. So I don't know. Sometimes it's good to step back, I would say.
Yeah, it definitely is. Just give yourself a bit of space. And I think for me, when and if I have a child coming soon, that will definitely, that'll be the kickstart to be like, you ain't gonna be working all evening.
It's a double it's a double shift, you know.
It's hard. I think I'll get there eventually. It's just, I don't know. I've always been, to be honest, just crap at balancing projects alone. So even now I kind of take on projects and it's always hard to say no. Like, I don't know about you, Amy, when you get like a really good, you're on something good, but then you also get a great offer of another project and you're trying to balance. It's just, you can't say no.
Yeah, it's a big issue when you still do it, but then you crash. What I found though is when you speak to clients about availability, 80% of the time they can extend that deadline that's ASAP. Like it's not really that ASAP.
No, you've always got to test the water and just push those boundaries a little bit, just to find out how flexible they are.
Yeah, the best clients will wait on for you.
Yeah, they always give you those sort of opportunities and should let you work around your own deadlines and give you the freedom to create the best you can, really. So I guess it's just the nature of it and really trying to find the ways to balance it. Like, do you guys use anything do you use any programs to balance your sort of your deadlines and your workflows, or are you like me where I just link stuff in my calendar and be like, yeah, I might be blocked out there, blocked out here. It's a bit of a juggling act in a way.
I mean, I use Google Tasks. That's as far as it goes. I have all my
Nice.
deadlines on one side for each project,
Nice.
and then I just go day by day. Like set myself like subtasks every day.
Yeah.
That works for me because I can drag things along.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice.
Me, I feel like I'm very old school still on that. I have like a board, everything written, I wipe out and everything just next to me here. So I don't know. I like to see it in front of me rather than always.
Yeah. Have it clear and laid out. Clear is better. I think I'll get there eventually. I'm just still trying to find the best way to do it.
You have to focus on work though. Like it's easy to get wrapped up. So that at my last agency, one of the biggest issues was we didn't have a studio manager. As creative lead, I was stuck in process and looking at that side rather than focusing on being creative. And I think it's easy as a freelancer to. I went through a phase of going on sticky notes. I'd write on sticky notes all my tasks, and then I'd find myself writing the same thing the next day when I could be spending that time actually making something. You have to concentrate on the work.
It's hard, isn't it? One thing I was going to ask you, Amy, is how you've kind of transitioned into this new Web3 space. Did you find that was hard? Sort of, I guess. What I'm trying to say is when I was kind of going to freelance, like I thought I was probably going to be getting a lot of sort of like UK based brands and jobs and less global work really. So it's kind of adjusting to sort of these different time zones. But have you found like in the whole Web3 space that again, like the whole, I guess time zones are all over the place, never mind, but like you find like the deadlines and the timelines are just as all over the place, and you're trying to really have to sort of manage how and when these things come in. And I guess you never know what's going to come in next week. Like for me, it's always very unexpected.
You can get emails with inquiries at 11 o'clock at night. So I work a lot with people in America, and I'm not going to reply until 2 PM, as the time goes by. But then you find like you lose time to work on amends and everything. So you have to be really quick at booking in those meetings to then chat it over and then produce from that point. I like the time difference though, because I've never been a morning person, so being able to work in the afternoon like 6, 7 instead of finishing at 4 just works for me way better.
Yeah, makes sense.
I do like not knowing what's coming next though, and you'll find I think in America Web3 and NFTs are a lot bigger over there than they are here. It's still new everywhere, but I feel like there's not many in the UK into it yet.
Yeah. I mean, you've been stepping into it big time, haven't you? You've done stuff like the New York Fashion Week, and England's getting there. It's just, I guess, it's just one of those things that's kind of fallen behind a bit.
It's how the brands approach it, I think, and whether they get the right strategists on it, to do all the marketing side. Because if they get that right, then they'll fly, and it then goes worldwide anyway. It's a whole new world. Yeah,
definitely is. Yeah, and David, you sort of, I think you saw myself as well. We dipped into the sort of that whole new space as well over time, and there was times where I was kind of really invested in it. I felt like it was like a new avenue for me, and I thought like maybe I could push my work that way. But then I kept getting sort of the jobs I was getting was more based around kinetic type, and that's kind of what I do, and I found like the kind of work I was doing was less sort of introduced into that world. So then came back to the normal freelance work, and that's kind of the whole sort of divide between like Web3 and what I do now is very much parted, and I have sort of left that behind, and I'm just focusing on sort of what I do now and the whole sort of freelance, I guess, design for brands and things. It's weird. I didn't know how it was going to play out.
It depends whether you want to approach it as an NFT artist or you want to go like I do it and I create for brands. So I'm still following brand guidelines a lot of the time. Say for Boohoo, we did an access card in 3D and I had to follow their style, which is like what I do as a graphic designer. So I suppose I'm trying to channel both lanes, whereas you've got a style that you can give brands. So I guess it depends where you sit in it all, but there's a space for everyone, depending on what you want to do.
Yeah. And I guess talking of styles is something I was going to sort of lean on at some points. Like, I guess, Amy, you've got quite a wide style now. You're focusing on 3D. You can see your work in places like when you see it, you know it. And David, with you, you've got a very sort of unique style. Like, you know, when you see your work, are you still finding that people are very much interested in keeping your style in things, or do you still get those projects where it very much gets, it's still there, but it gets really sort of.
I find like people a lot of time contact me for the style itself. So most of my work and client is simply because of my style. But you know, it's weird because I come also from a heavy graphic design background. I love typography. There's a lot of things that I do. I did a lot of logos, and I don't know. I'm looking into 3D as well at the moment, and I think like sometime doing something that is not in your comfort zone might actually benefit you, because you can always relate to it back in the future. I don't know how to say it, but let's say like today you will work on something that normally is not really like what you like doing. You will still take an experience out of it. That's the way I approach projects. Like I always prefer to do my illustration, but if something comes up that is interesting, that can have my style, but with the influence of something I've never experienced, I will go for it. It's almost like, you remember me and we collaborated. I collaborated with so many artists that are so different to me, but something special will always come out from that. So it's that's how I see it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's always a positive. It's always kind of can benefit you.
It doesn't really scares me, because I think like as an artist, even doing always the same thing can bring you to a moment of like, I'm tired of this, you know, like let's be honest. You evolve, you get better in it, but you also get like, wow, it looks the same. I want to go to the next level. And I think all us as artists, we are like the biggest critique of our work. We will never be happy with our work. We always want to do it like,
definitely.
You know, when you will say, my work is amazing, that's where you say like, wow, I did something special, you know, but we will never get there, I believe too, you know. So I don't know. You guys understand what I mean? Like, it's crazy to say it like that, but I feel like we chasing after something that might never come for us, but in the meantime, we're just improving and evolving also as artists. Because I think especially in the 3D world, it's so, even if you are the best now, you can't. There's so much more you can learn of it. So it's,
without the idea, you've got nothing. Without the,
you understand? It doesn't.
Yeah. It's just another tool, I guess. But
definitely.
Yeah.
Just how it is, I guess. I mean, like I've had briefs recently where it's kind of been described as one project and it's been really exciting, and then I've kind of been briefed and mood board and everything's been like really different. It's been something that like I still get these things where like I get a briefing and I see it and straight away I'm like, oh, there's no way I can do that. Just like that inner voice just hits me and it's like, there's no way on earth, like how am I supposed to do that? Even though I've got the tools, I've got the skills, I can easily do it. It's just that self-doubt that sort of it kicks in. And I guess no matter how small or big the project is, it still kicks in. And I know it's a very common thing and it can be quite damaging for yourself. Like I've had moments where it's really like affected my self-confidence, like and it feeds into that whole like Instagram and reality thing. Like what you put on Instagram is like all these amazing projects and this great personal work, but like you don't always show like the struggle that goes behind it and sort of the issues that you might have, or it all revolves around like sort of that mental health space. And you know, and that can all just stream off of like having one bad briefing, which I've found that it cascades and snowballs for me. You know, have you two found that you've had things where I guess it's kind of like a knock-on effect with a brief or the project, and it just sort of really messes with your head?
I think it's easy to accept a challenge and think maybe I can't do this, but then you do it. But probably, like you said, that you can do it. So at 75% of the time, you'll smash it. But if you don't take that risk to try it, you're not going to improve and get more work like it in the future that you might end up enjoying. But I know what you mean. So I've had clients in the past that have come to me, I thought this is perfect. 6 months down the line, it's still not finished. And it can happen. And then they're the kind of projects for me that make me doubt everything, because I think I could have done this and I could have done this well, but it's basically, this is how you know the client's not right for you and they would be better with someone else. And it does happen. There's no agency, there's no freelancer or artist out there that can do everything. And I think like last year at the agency I was at, we wanted to try and hire designers that could do everything and try and cover all aspects, but I learned from that that's impossible. There is no such thing as a hybrid designer. Everybody's better at certain things. And
having those different sort of aspects and skill sets, and that's all combined, it brings something really special. It can be like a really sort of creative and impressive team.
I'm going now I'm starting an agency called Sky High, and I want to outsource to other freelancers. So if I get a project in, it's not right for me, but it might be right for, say, you, Matt, or anyone, I will pass that to them and I will recommend it and be totally transparent with the client that we're using this guy, because I think the agency model is dying and there's so much talent out there. You just have to connect the dots, you know?
You get the better results. You really do. It's hard. It's I guess, like you said, it's just how it's evolving and developing and changing, really. I mean,
it's a good and bad thing.
Exactly. It's tricky. Like I've kind of experienced both sides of it, where I've had those moments where I get those great briefs, but I can't sort of take it on, and I've always found myself fortunate to be able to try and pass those projects on to other people, even though I don't have a team with me because I'm a solo sort of designer. Even if I turn down a project because I don't have the time or something's not lining up, I always try, like, well, hold on, I might have said no, but have you tried this person? And I always just send some Instagram links and some websites and just try and get it to other people. That it's, for me, it's always type-based stuff. So I always get people that are sort of in the type community that do sort of animation and type design that I can feed these projects out to, because I think it's always nice to be able to share those projects, even if you can't take it on, there's going to be someone else who can, and it's better to give those opportunities to someone else rather than just let it linger in the agency world and let them sort of deal with it. It's nice to be able to do that. Do you, David, find yourself having to sort of delve projects out to other people, or do you kind of just have quite a sort of healthy sort of balance of it?
Like me, I truly believe in the power of working together. Like for me, the word collaboration and just involve people in everything you do, for me, is super important, because I don't know, it's like, as Amy was saying, you can be 90% good in what you do. That extra 10% is an experiment. It's an experiment that you're trying to take on, so it's good to work with other people, pass on things to other people, because like this, I don't know, you don't feel alone as well, especially for us working from home alone. It's like to join the dots with different people, actually, it strengthens friendship on one side, but at the same time, an opportunity to other people to actually shine, because there are so many underdogs, even me now, I'm okay now, but back a few years ago I was still struggling, so I had to do a retail job. And if it wasn't for certain people that really saw my work and say, wow, David, you have a talent, let's work together, those people that actually invested time in me and believed in me brought me where I am today. So
that's great.
And but I'm not one of those guys that came out of uni and wow, everything happened. For me, I've lived in 3 different countries, so was always like, come in a country, rebuild yourself, get to know everybody, meet. Was such a hassle for me.
Starting again.
And I understand everything that everybody is saying, because I really struggle to be where I want to be, and I really had to work very hard for it. But at the same time, is certain people, it's funny how certain people can make the difference. And I think if we can all be, each of us can be part of making that happen, like, I don't know, it's something special. I don't know.
Oh, definitely.
I don't know how to say it, sometimes I'll go crazy with my words, but I think, like, definitely sharing is caring. And the only thing I will say, sometimes it happened to me in the past, is like, I've worked on certain projects where maybe I recommended people that I trusted at the beginning, but then something went wrong, So in this aspect, I will always say, whenever you recommend somebody, remember those person represent you as well. So if I have a client and he needs somebody that I know, like, for my respect, you should be as good as I am to him. So like I'm giving your name forward but it happened that sometimes I've been left down by people just because. So it's
out of your control, isn't it?
Yeah, you understand what I mean?
Control.
You try to do your best to be kind, but certain situation happened to me that I was like, man, really? You really did like this? But
I've never thought about that. It's like I've passed jobs on to people all the time, and I've never thought about, like, some of these people I know and some people I don't know. Like, I've seen their work and I think I know them through Instagram. Like I've maybe liked their photos and posts, but like, I've never thought about that. I've never had it come back on me, and thought like they're still representing myself even though I'm passing the job on. Like,
I'm making an example, like, it's because maybe, like me and you, we collaborated. I was like wow, Matt is on point. I like his work. I've worked with this guy. I was like, wow, it's actually amazing. So you kind of see immediately through collaborating who the person is. But in my terminology, because I come from graphic design, typography, I know a lot of people of different areas that I don't cover, like user experience, website. So I can recommend many people because I know a lot of people, but it's not my field. So I don't know realistically how good a person can be. You understand what I mean? So sometimes that's what I struggle with, because if you see, most of the work that I give is all circle of people that I know or that I've already done some few stuff together with. But instead of taking everything on my plate, because it's impossible to take, I just give it to people. If they can, great. But I know that they're trustworthy people, So
it's good. It's good. It's good to have that sort of backup and to know that if things shouldn't go wrong, and if if they do, it's not because they're not capable. It might be like an issue in the other side. So it's nice to have that sort of network, and like you say, like, for anyone who didn't know, like, me and David collaborated on a few pieces on Instagram. We sort of took it in turns to illustrate and animate things, and it's a great way to sort of build those relationships. And I guess especially because I'm working from home all the time, and like, I don't have a creative team, I don't have other people to talk to other than my dog, who doesn't exactly give me any responses or feedback. You go stir crazy. So the closest sometimes you can get, if you're not in a studio space like yourself now, Amy, is to do those collaborations online. And it's nice. It makes you feel close to people. It brings out sort of the best in people. It's super nice. Have you, Amy, had a chance to collaborate with many people? Have you had experience with that?
I work with agencies, so technically yes, because then I'll be sharing work with the designers that then goes out. Apart from that, no. But then this is where Sky High comes in, where I start reconnecting with people I used to work with, or freelancers I know of that would be perfect for certain things. Like, I think that's where I wanted to set something up, because I don't want to be on my own forever,
Definitely, yeah. And you've had the chance to jump on those kind of jobs where it's like, how to explain, the brand or the agency gets like a group of designers in who are different styles, and then you all have the same brief, but then your outcomes are all different. I've seen you've had a few things like that have been sort of NFT based, where designers have created different objects or items, and then you've been able to put your own stance on it. And
100%. The book reverse illustration, we all had different styles, so we had to come together to make sure that was all consistent. But if we would have all gone to make the NFTs from scratch, it would have been a nightmare. But then New York Fashion Week, for Afterpay, we used different 3D designers for the different keys that we created.
Nice.
And without the two guys, Alessio and Joe, that were taking care of the project from Good Morning, Good Night Labs, they made sure everything still was seamless, but you could still see the different styles, because in a way they had to be different styles because they were based on different fashion designers. So again, it's working to the brief, but making sure the right people are on specific briefs, because there was actually one of those keys that I was supposed to do and I had to pull it because I couldn't do it. I'll happily admit it happens, but then the key that I did do was down a treat and sold out, so it can
it works out.
It's okay to pass on and work with other people for different styles, that's what I'm saying.
Definitely. And you get some really interesting cool results as well. Like some of my favorite projects have been those projects where I get briefed on a small section of it, and then the actual project is huge, and then it's not sometimes until the very end that you find out who was involved, or you see like how many different styles and things are involved in it. It's just, yeah, it's something special. And it goes back to that point, David, of like, you know, working with these different people, having these different styles, and having the trust, and yeah, it does bring out this, like, those special qualities and those really special projects. It's really cool.
I think working together actually enhance any artist, because I think I learn, you learn. If that's the kind of process I see in between. Collaboration, you both elevate each other, or like the team and you elevate each other by being together and working on something. Yeah.
It's true. It's cool. It's great. And people in the chat saying, I know you'd be saying, she didn't realize how important collaboration was within the community, and she too works from home during the pandemic, but it is like collaboration. Like when I did like some of my first collaborations, I was a bit skeptical because I wasn't quite sure, like, how does this work? Like, who initiates the project? Who kicks off what side of it? And you guess it's different for each person you collaborate with, and you just kind of make it work. And it's just, it's different with every person you work with. And that's what's kind of nice. It's like a challenge, but when you're collaborating on something that's not sort of like a paid project, there's no pressure. You know, there's no stress. You can just make your own stuff and just make something cool. It's nice. So, you know, I recommend anyone who hasn't collaborated in the audience to jump out there, get some collaborations going. You never know what you're going to come out with. It's awesome.
No, trust me. The best outcomes I've ever done, I think, is through collaboration. It's just because when you're out of your comfort zone, your brain does something to you. I think it's like you start wondering more rather than just going straight for it. You know, so I like that feeling. Kind of, so it's great.
Definitely. One super important thing I wanted to bring up with you two is just motion design. Like, you two both do motion design. For me, I've talked about this in podcasts and sort of talks before, that like I hated motion when I first started it. I did at university, did like one module on it, and I couldn't stand it. I never in a million years saw myself sort of doing motion for clients or being like a freelance sort of animator. I couldn't get to grips with it. It just didn't feel sort of something I was comfortable with. I know you two both sort of have motion in your work, and I guess how did it start for you? Like, how did you sort of introduce motion into your work, your sort of your working style and your process, really?
I had to through work, so I was designing posters for Red Bull, and then we had to turn those posters into animated screen media for pubs and bars. Cool. So that's where I started. I had to pick it up on the job. When I look back at those videos, they were terrible.
They always are. That's what always are.
That's how you start.
Yeah, that's it. But I just don't think I really knew what I was doing, but no one else in that team did motion either. So it didn't really matter. We were just picking it up as we were going along. Nice. I loved it though. I really liked the technical side, and without that opportunity, I don't think I would have got to this point where I motion every day. Yeah,
it's bizarre. And you, David?
Me, I was exactly like you. I would say, like, I was like, oh my god, motion, you know. But then I don't know. You remember before I was talking about evolving as an artist, you get tired of things. So I started seeing all my stuff very static, and then I was like, oh, boring. And I was like, I wanted to swap something. I started doing like, you know, like the stop motion on Photoshop, frame by frame. And I was like, okay, it moves well. Then I open After Effects. I wouldn't define myself still an animator because I just create loops. I'm not like, when I think about animator, I think somebody that can make like a whole, you know, like, I think you worked with Emoni, I don't want to say.
Emoni,
like when I saw something like that, I was like, wow, you know, like I was like transition going out, like that's what I would define animator. Rather me, I just create loops. But I simply started because I felt bored with my work, so I wanted to bring it a step forward, and you know, it happened. And the more you do it, I think the more you improve, the more you learn. So it's
definitely. It's definitely one of those things that takes time, and you've got to sort of put in the hours and put in the time if you kind of want to sort of, I don't know, improve and grow. Because you know, I still get sort of questions online about, you know, did I follow a tutorial to do this, that, and the other? And sometimes it's yes, but you know, most of the time it's no. And I do just have to say to people, like, the only reason sort of I've got to kind of where I am was because I was kind of starting to learn motion with agencies, and sort of like you, Amy, I was sort of asked to sort of pick it up. And these first agencies that I sort of worked at, they knew that I knew some really basic After Effects from uni. So they kind of like sort of got me into to sort of grow that skill set for these agencies and these brands, because it was sort of like a gap in the market. It was a couple of years ago, quite a few years ago now, 6 to 8 years ago. So it was a good sort of doorway and sort of foot in the door to sort of learn that new skill. And like now it kind of opens doors that I sort of never would have imagined would be open for me. Like I never would have thought I'd be doing sort of some of the motion stuff that I do. So yeah, it's one of those sort of things that I think is sort of really important for people to pick up, and you know, for people to invest the time in and learn as much as they can. Have you two found that because you've kind of got this sort of motion skill in sort of your skill set, are you finding, well, let's go to you first, David, because you do mainly sort of illustration. Do you find yourself getting mini motion jobs, or are you still very much in sort of the static world and sort of getting jobs that rely on illustration?
I think it's balanced. It always depends on client budget, you know. It's like, because sometimes, you know, like a lot of people would like to have motion and stuff like that. But don't get me wrong, it's like, I mean, yeah, I will just say like, since I make motion, I might get more jobs as a freelancer. That's what I will say, because, you know, static is okay, but if you can give a bigger packet, it's always better as a designer, I will say. Personally, then I don't know if it's like this for you as well, but I think when you are just static, it's not as promising as knowing both, you know. It's
you can do more,
yeah, because you sell yourself better, and plus you, I don't know, you have more to offer. That's what I would say.
Definitely,
sometimes as well that maybe I get some projects that are static, and I'm like, yo man, I can do some motion, throw in some AR.
Let me animate this, please.
It can become an AR, it pops out of the shirt, and people are, really? Can you let it look like, oh, AR? And I don't know, you see, even you did AR, and so there's so much technology now that motion, 3D, AR, you can, it's crazy stuff. I don't want to go in detail, but yeah, it definitely opens more doors for you, I will say.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I said, I did some AR stuff with Adobe a while ago, and it combines that motion and illustration, and it opens up stuff, like, and it's like a whole nother world. And again, that kind of then feeds into your world as well, Amy, because I know people in that whole space that AR and VR, like I've seen people do paint and create stuff in AR with Oculus sets now. It's unbelievable. Like, have you delving into it, or have you had to delve into it at all?
Not with NFTs.
No.
I would say on the motion front, when I've made digital adverts for Facebook, Instagram, for different products, it's always a requirement to make it animated for engagement reasons, because people are more likely to sit and watch it if it's animated. It just works better. So when you've got an advert, well, it doesn't, sometimes it might not, but very rarely.
Yeah, it depends. Okay, it's just more engaging, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, and that's what clients want. So they sell the product usually, looking at it from that perspective. Yeah, all about the end result. And I know, like a couple of years ago, like you'd be scrolling through Instagram, it is very static. And it was, I guess it was more photo based then, but it was very static. And now, you know, they're trying to push it on people to do reels, and the whole Instagram thing's been a bit of a clusterfuck, to be honest. For me, it's like, I used to find it was really engaging, and like it was really sort of helpful for me. Like I'd get feedback from it. I'd get sort of more, it's not all about like the likes and the comments, but like having that audience, it was nice to be able to sort of, you'd get different viewpoints on your work. And again, that helps then also bring in jobs, because people share it, like, and it grows, and it's like more organic. How have you two found the whole
Instagram algorithm? Have you found
Oh,
it's
it's
really
terrible
sort of
now.
destroyed any sort of traction you've got?
Yeah, like I used to run, I still run the design fix.
Yeah, of course.
Basically just sharing other people's work to promote them. And yeah, I don't post anywhere near as much as I used to, but the engagement has dropped massively compared
Just
to what
gone,
it used
hasn't
to be. Yeah, like I was in the millions of views at one point, and now
Wow.
completely dropped. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of like reversing it back, and I want to move it into the whole NFT side of things and focus more on just good art and good work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Certainly
easy to
makes
get
sense.
stuck in the world of likes and views.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And it can be quite damaging as well. Like,
Yeah.
it's just because 100 people or 50 people haven't liked your post, it doesn't mean it's a bad post, or doesn't mean it's a bad piece of creative work. It can be really devastating to your mental health, really.
I don't even pay attention to likes.
No, I know.
You know why? Because
doesn't matter.
opinions, you know, like
Yeah.
sometimes the greatest stuff that you did, like, oh my God, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Then you post it and you're like, wah, 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 wah. Like it's terrible, you know. So it's, but I think artists, you know, it's relative. Everybody, some people might like it. The day that is bad day, nobody's gonna watch it. So
exactly.
I don't really, you know, a lot of people sometimes put too much pressure on, oh my God, my Instagram. But at the end of the day,
doesn't matter.
You are Matt. I know your work. I know you're doing smashing. I don't know. You should.
Okay. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It's not something that's worth holding your own standards to, because it just as soon as like those sort of likes and that traction and even those opinions gets decimated and you're getting no views or anything, like if you're really that focused on it, and I've said to people in the past, like if you're on Instagram to get likes and to get views, and you're only creating work for that purpose, and I think personally you're creating work for the wrong reason. Like when I started creating work and posting it out there, it was during the pandemic, like the first wave, and I was only creating positive stuff because I was going on Instagram and it was just shocking. It was just depression and it was just sadness. And I was like, you know, I'm just gonna create some weird ass type, chuck it out there, put a smiley face on it, not for anything in any particular reason, just chuck it out there. It's fun. Like I've enjoyed creating it. Hopefully someone else gets a smile out of it. And for me, that's kind of like how that snowballed, and that helped me like not think about anything to do with like the algorithm or like how many people are seeing my work. It was just like, I like creating this stuff, and I'm just going to start pushing these personal projects out there, filling the feed with it, and we're spamming people. That really helped me.
Let's be honest, like sometimes we take hours and hours to do something, you know, and that effort will never be repaid on Instagram.
No.
If it makes sense. Then you see a burger with a tomato sliding out, 100,000, 1 million views. You understand what I mean? So it's like, I will not, because, you know, it's funny, but a lot of time when I speak to younger artists, they're like, oh my God, you have this many followers. And I'm like, man, that doesn't really make any difference. It's just a number, but then the quality that comes out of it is what I look like. Constructive feedback for me, you know, who is the most important is maybe the network I made on Instagram with the artists that I used to be a fan of, you know.
Nice.
Like I think I know you before we actually collaborated, because I was like, wow, the guy is amazing, like this guy is amazing. And now to see all these amazing people following me, that's what really makes me happy, because that means like I got the attention of the people I used to be a fan of. You know, so that means more to me than numbers, because I'm getting there and I want to collaborate with these people. I've always loved their work, and now it's I feel like I'm getting to the right path in a certain way, if it makes sense, because people get depressed on social media for this kind of things, because it gives you like a lot of self-doubt, and I don't know, never mind.
No, you're right. It can be a really hard place. Like I said, it can be quite mentally damaging if you like that. That's kind of why you're in it. And yeah, I guess when you have those moments of those artists that, like I used to follow people on Dribble like 10, 15 years ago, like when I was in uni, and I'd follow these amazing artists and be like, one day I want to kind of be like them. And then later down the line, they start following you, and it's just like,
and you feel like
the best. Yeah, it's the best feeling. You just feel like almost like I'm worthy enough or I'm good enough to be followed by this person, like the unknown recognition. But it's just one of those nice little boosters, I guess, nice little confidence boosters. Yeah, it's a sweet moment.
You feel like you're doing something right, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to express it, but you just feel like, wow, he paid attention to my work.
Yeah, it's nice.
Like,
it's nice. One good comment that's just come into the chat was, have you guys, I know Amy, you're on Twitter quite often. That's for the whole NFT space. It's an amazing place. TikTok, have you two been on TikTok lately?
Thought about it, but it's just another.
It's a whole world, isn't it?
To make, because you have to make them in the way that it's going to work on TikTok. Otherwise, it's not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, it's not the same as posting out like a reel on Instagram.
No, it's not like just sharing your work like you would on Instagram. It's making it. I think if I ever do post on TikTok, it's going to be process videos or like wireframe to render.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it's on the cards. We'll see.
Just one of those things, isn't it? Just another avenue to explore.
Yeah, that's it.
You getting in there, David, at all, or are you just staying clear of TikTok?
Listen, I'm very old school. Like, people always laugh at me, but I'm very old school. I keep it basic, you know, like Twitter. I'm just there to be there, you know, you need it. But I just literally use Instagram. Nothing much, because, you know, I feel, I don't know, now it might sound silly, but I don't have time for that. Like, it's
no.
I rather work on my work and produce more rather than I need to do this. Instagram is more than enough. You know, it's mind consuming, you know, it's I don't know. As you said, like, if you keep it narrow, I think you should keep Behance, because Behance, Instagram, but then TikTok, I don't know, maybe I'm older generation, so I'm from '87, so when I think about TikTok, I'm like, oh man, and let's keep on this one.
yeah, keep it simple, I've tried to sort of post some real videos that I've done on Instagram, which are the same posts I do as a square piece of type, just cropped out and extended. I've tried to put that on TikTok, and it's kind of just like, I don't know if it's the right space for that, so I'm just going to keep, for me, focusing on, I do post stuff on Behance still, like projects and sort of collections of works every couple of months. Behance and Instagram for me. See how that goes, and that's worked for me so far. So for now, TikTok's just kind of, on the back burner. Yeah, on the back burner.
I think it has been a big revolution. Like, TikTok really exploded. Like, a lot of people start using TikTok just like that overnight.
Yeah.
It's great. But I don't know. I feel like even when Instagram started, you remember the first days of Instagram? It felt like, here's the gallery for art, for doing photography, for doing this. And now when I think about that time, it's nothing like that. It's just put anything, you know? That kind of, it will change in TikTok too, I think. And I don't know.
I'm sure it will. These things all seem to have changed, and I'm sure they will change again. I agree. So I guess the last little sort of question out to you is kind of a nice note to finish on. It's kind of one of those standard questions people always get asked, but for you personally, what piece of sort of advice would you give to someone who is on the cusp of going freelance, or is sort of on that sort of knife edge of being like, is freelance right for me? Is there any one piece of advice you'd sort of give to someone who's looking to dive in, who's going to step into it, or anything that helped you even make that decision?
Oh, I think for me it'd be, don't be afraid of asking other freelancers questions, because without help from a lot of other people on pricing, everything like that, I wouldn't have done as well as I have. Also, stand your ground on prices. When you set your costs, you stick to those costs, because there was a recruiter that tried to get me down, and I'm so glad I didn't.
Don't lower your own sort of value. And there's always, on these briefs and budgets, there's always sort of going with your standard costs, or even your higher costs, because there's always more budget. Like, agencies are always trying to sort of, I guess, save money in ways they can, which is fair, but there's always more budget to be had. which is super important. Yeah,
I think that's actually the best advice, because I started without having the agent with me.
yeah,
And once I work with the agent, I was like, oh, whoa, you know, it's shocking to begin with, because you're like, wow, I really underestimated myself so much, you know.
yeah,
And one thing I will also say is, like, if you want to go freelance, take the risk, because sometimes, you know, like, a lot of people get stuck in the idea, like, shall I go, shall I not go? Because, you know, a 9 to 5 is great because you know how much money you're gonna get every time at the end of the month. But you can achieve maybe greatness if you just take that risk one time. You know? It's like, because you will do what you love doing, most likely. You manage your own time, and you wouldn't have people treating you miserable, I don't know how to pronounce that word.
yeah, in a 9 to 5.
When I was in retail, people will treat me like I didn't, ignorant guy, he never studied, he never, but I had so much potential, and people will just, because they're paying you, you're a slave. Rather, when you go freelance, I feel like you have the opportunity really to have a bright future.
Yeah,
And as Amy was saying, connect yourself. Don't be afraid to contact companies. Just write to them. Is yes, no, wow, I like this stuff, let's work. What is the risk? There's no risk. We are all simple human beings at the end of the day. So taking risks sometimes brings you blessing, because like here in London, I would have never thought I will be freelancing. But then when the pandemic started, I was like, I'm so tired of being working with these 50 people. They don't know what design is, and I'm always doing corporate. And then instead of getting mentally ill about that, I just made that decision. And I don't know, the first 2 months of COVID definitely hit me, because I was like, whoa, maybe I did a mistake. But then after those 2 months, it felt like blessings just start coming after the other one. And I don't know, and I'm still here. So taking risks definitely can pay off. Don't be afraid. But in case you see that obviously money is not coming in after a lot of months or stuff like that, I will always say have a plan B, if it makes sense. Because a lot of people just jump in it, but if it's not working as well as you want, you need to be able to still pay rent. So it's
you gotta be prepared.
Yeah, because back in the days I used to do part-time retail and also work on projects. So, you know, being in the shop, being there, but then at the end I end up always working, you know, night working, morning working, and but then I don't know, step by step, everything will come.
Nice. Yeah, great words to end on. And people in the chat too are saying, you know, sometimes you don't always have a choice, or sometimes you like the security, but your head says otherwise. So I guess, you know, most people that I speak to have taken the leap. Just you don't look back. It's
you don't look back.
You know, it's just one of the best decisions you can make. And you know, not everyone's in the fortunate position to be able to do that, but if you can and you think you can, I think you have to do it. Otherwise, like you say, you spend so much time being like, could it work? Couldn't it work? If you don't do it, you don't know. It's just the beauty of it, I guess.
If you decide that you can also live off passive income, like sounds funny, but you can do prints, you can do clothing, you can do, and I don't know, when you have time in your own hands, you can really, I don't know, we work a lot because we have projects, but I know a lot of artists that they just do the art that they like doing, and they live on passive income. They just sell the artwork and they live great, you know, like, and I don't know, it's when you have time in your hand, you can be the master of your destiny. Wow, it came out nice.
That's come out very nice, very nice. A great kind of note to end on. So yeah, thank you both for joining me. It's nice to sort of speak to you in person. I know we've always chatted on Instagram, but thanks for your sort of advice and experience. It's been great to chat to you.